All right, we're going to discuss Night, chapter 5, with you guys this morning um, and go through this chapter. So, we just finished chapter 4. And so, remember in chapter 4, what had been going on was that um, Eliezer and his father are living in the camp in Buna. They're working. He talked a lot about his relationship with his father. And then we get to chapter 5, and basically they're still in Buna. And it starts off, he talks about the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, and that's the Jewish New Year. And he kind of in this chapter gets into more of those things in terms of the Jewish religion and some of their experiences with that in terms of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, which is basically the Jewish belief in when they like um, they confess their sins and everything. And so he does select that, but one of the big themes of chapter 5 here has to deal with what's called the selection. And so basically, when the Jews were in the Holocaust and they were in these camps, they would have to go through this selection process on occasion, where basically when new Jews were brought in to the camps, they would try to get rid of Jews that weren't healthy enough to work. And so they'd go through this process where they would then be forced to do things like run around in circles. They'd be have to go in front of a doctor. The doctor would then, look at them to decide if they were healthy enough to work. And it was kind of a process that he kind of talks about, that this doctor, Dr. Mengele, which is actually a real person from the Holocaust, and this time at Auschwitz and these different camps, he treated it like a game. And basically, they would play music and make these people run around in the mud with their clothes off and things like that. And he just kind of felt like, their lives didn't matter. And so that definitely sticks out here. And so if you ever watch like the movie Schindler's List, there's a scene that they show this basic type of thing too, where these people go through this what they called the selection. And you didn't want to be selected. Understand that. If you were selected, that meant that you were going to be sent to Auschwitz or a different death camp from there. And so he does talk a lot about that. In this chapter also, he gets into a little bit about, again, his relationship with his father. His father's having a hard time at this point. He's not very healthy. And so one of the things that happens is his father gives him some gifts. He basically gives him a spoon and a fork as gifts for the Jewish holidays here. And, that's an important part of this, because basically that's like his father giving him his inheritance. Those were the only things he had left at this point to share with his son. And he's kind of looking at it as like he doesn't know how long he's going to be able to live. And so he is just kind of giving these things to Eliezer. Okay, and again, at this point too, Eliezer's having to do a lot of things as far as, helping his father. Like in the last chapter, he had to teach his father marching lessons and do these things because he was trying to keep him alive all the time. And so, yeah, he talks about the Kaddish in here, which is the Jewish prayer for the dead. And so this chapter, it's just a lot about that selection process and how he and his father are really having to deal with that. And one of the things that's going to happen to Eliezer, which is a key part of this book, is he's going to be sent to the infirmary, to the doctor, because he has a tooth that's bothering him. And so he, that's a threat. Again, this whole idea of if you can't work, you'll be killed. So if he's going to the doctor and he's having to have a tooth removed, that could lead to them determining that maybe he isn't fit to work. Luckily for him, he's able to only be in the infirmary, the hospital for a few days. And so he, got some morphine, things like that, and is able to get out of that situation. And so what's going to happen at the end of this chapter, it's pretty important, is we're going to get into this idea that, what's going to happen is the camp's going to start to be evacuated. So again, understand, with the Holocaust, this is in terms of like the killing of the Jews, this happens in only the last couple of years of the war, like 1944, 1945. And so what's going to happen here is the Russian army now is moving closer into Poland as the war is kind of coming to an end. And so the Nazis are going to start to try to cover up a lot of things they were doing, and as well as kill as many Jews as possible. And so they are going to be evacuated from their camp. And so then they're going to start this next thing that's going to happen. But just understand the biggest things, again, this changing relationship with his father, changing issues with his religion happening at this point in the book, as well as his father giving him his inheritance, is really an important part of this. So that is the end of that chapter. I'll record another video here over the next 2 chapters.